I'm going to completely alter your perspective on fat loss and mitochondria in the next 25 minutes. I'm going to completely alter your perspective on proteins, lipids, and carbohydrates. I might even completely alter your perspective on calories and nutrient quality. Imagine being able to demonstrate that food quality is more important than quantity. Imagine being able to comprehend why you occasionally find it impossible to reduce weight. Imagine being able to comprehend why, despite not eating more, you occasionally gain weight. Even when you slept soundly the night before, imagine being able to explain why you have low energy one day. The reason for this is that recent research indicates that we are not merely converting food into energy in a highly organized manner. In reality, we are producing our own energy in an entirely different manner. And while the science will astound you, you will have practical tools rather than just abstract scientific knowledge that is beyond your comprehension. In today's video, we will discuss 4 topics. First, we're going to dispel a major fallacy about mitochondria. It's less of a myth and more of what contemporary science is teaching us, which the general public hasn't necessarily embraced yet. Second, we'll talk about quantum physics, and I'll make you feel really smart. You'll discover some interesting things that you can tell your friends. Don't worry, we won't go too deep down the rabbit hole. After that, I'll show you how your fat cells can actually produce water. I think that's a really wonderful thing. Converting fat to water. Fourth, I'll give you the equipment. What good is the information if you can't use it? That's why I'm going to explain how you can truly apply it. So let's boost our mitochondria, boost our fat reduction, and add some intelligence. As promised, dispelling this misconception will be the first topic we discuss in the mitochondria misconception. And this will turn everything around for you in a positive way. We consider the mitochondria to be the cell's powerhouse. After passing electrons and energy from our meals through a process known as the electron transport chain, we are able to produce energy. That's not wrong, but it resembles the mitochondria from the 1960s. If we delve a little farther, I can briefly blow your mind to keep you interested in this video. Consider an intriguing idea. The DNA of the mitochondria is unique. They are the only thing in our bodies that is different from our own DNA. That kind of indicates that it's crucial and may even be connected to deeper biology that exists outside of our bodies. For example, why does the mitochondria have its own DNA? It resembles a distinct life form of its own. You think, wait a minute. When you look at the science and begin to understand this stuff, the mitochondria is essentially a distinct living type. It's crazy. These are 6 functions of the mitochondria that individuals are unaware of at first. They sense information to start. They resemble little brains. They pick up on information. Everything in our body, including our nervous system, muscles, organs, and DNA, sends them signals. They are continuously receiving signals. Second, they control reactions known as redox reactions. I'll go into more detail about that later. In essence, they adjust energy to suit our needs. 3, they do emit light. They both produce and react to light. All right? Thus, they are doing more than just turning food into fuel. They both produce their own light and react to light. They react to electromagnetic fields, EMFs, including those produced by our bodies, and potentially those found in the atmosphere. They are in charge of apoptosis. This implies that mitochondria truly regulate the death of other cells. Additionally, they regulate oxidative stress. Therefore, the mitochondria will adjust if they sense that we need additional oxidative stress, are under load, or whatever else. Additionally, it regulates the expression or lack thereof of genes. Referring to the mitochondria, our little metabolism regulates when our genes do specific functions that define who we are. In actuality, we are metabolic creatures. Here's where the more recent research will blow your mind, stimulate you, and improve your understanding of fat reduction. According to recent research, our mitochondria are far more like batteries than factories. They are regulators of electrochemistry. And this is something we've kind of known. In essence, a mitochondria's inner membrane divides into two charges. Energy is produced by these two charges, this polarization, and the ultimate gradient of energy or protons traveling between these two locations. The two charges of the mitochondria make it similar to a battery. Both a positive and a negative charge are more prevalent. In the end, energy creation is made possible by this energy gradient. Therefore, a capacitor is a device that stores energy as two distinct charges. The mitochondria's capacity to control energy flow is comparable to a transistor. Finally, the capacity to interact with other cells and objects is comparable to an oscillator. Therefore, if you have any expertise with electricity, are an electrician, or have an electrician in your life, they will tell you that this is essentially how it operates and that it makes sense. However, how does that relate to losing weight? Get right to the point. It has nothing to do with how much calories or energy we are jamming into these mitochondria. It's more about how we can effectively let it produce and transfer energy. We achieve this by maximizing the efficiency of our mitochondria. Spoiler alert, this isn't the complete solution. When we reach step 4, I'll go into more depth, but factors like fasting help to maximize the mitochondria. It's not all about calories. It's not necessarily about maintaining a healthy metabolism or eating a lot of calories. The goal is to optimize the mitochondria to become a better, more effective lithium-ion battery that produces a lot of energy rather than just some Duracell alkaline crap. I'm going to dive into quantum physics now, and I can teach you some things that will astound your friends. You'll sound like the most intelligent person in the room, and they'll probably ask you to leave since they'll assume you're attempting to brag. Quantum tunneling. Have I gone insane yet? Have you unsubscribed once more? For a short while, everyone believed Albert Einstein was insane, so just listen to me. Alright, so this is what quantum tunneling is. A quantum mechanical phenomena known as quantum tunneling occurs when an object, such as an electron or an atom, goes through a potential energy barrier that, according to classical physics, should not be passable, since the thing lacks the energy to do so. In essence, it's the capacity of energy or a proton to get somewhere that it shouldn't be able to, such as more quickly than conventional physics would suggest. However, how does this relate to your inability to lose weight and your fat loss? Electrons are moving around when our mitochondria are producing energy. They descend 4 distinct complexes. They go through reduxes, also known as redox phases, 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right? As they progressed to these various phases and complexes, we believed that the primary feature was that every time an electron moved, it would act like a tiny explosion. Boom. A tiny explosion. And that's similar to electrons or harnessed energy, isn't it? All right. However, what we are currently witnessing is that there is a point where electrons travel at a speed and distance that are physically inconceivable. All right? It would be as if I asked you to toss this baseball 400 yards, and you just said that quantum tunneling would make it impossible. Yes, it is. In just a moment, I will discuss some 2022 science that was given at Scientific Reports. It's very crazy. In essence, what we're discovering is that our mitochondria are capable of quantum tunneling, which allows them to adjust their total energy to defy the laws of physics. Our mitochondria are experiencing instantaneous energy at a quantum level. It's essentially informing us that energy is moving at a quantum level in another realm that we are unaware of, for lack of a better way to put it. I'm going to explain how this all makes sense, so don't stop watching if you believe I've finally lost my mind. And I believe everything will make sense. The proton motive force is one of the most significant, if not the most significant, characteristics of our mitochondria. You will be able to share this section with your friends. Protons are pumped into the intermembrane gap by electrons using the proton motive force. This indicates that we are transporting protons from one location to another, mostly hydrogen. All right, if we are aware of batteries, then many people are considering the market for things like hydrogen and hydrogen cell batteries. All right, this proton of force depends heavily on hydrogen. Protons are essentially being transferred over a membrane from one part of the mitochondria to another. We refer to that as a gradient. However, what takes place? This is what's really awesome. All right? ATP synthesis is the process by which those protons pass through this little flywheel and pinwheel as they go across this gradient and membrane. All right, so the protons are what travel through this flywheel. This flywheel is rotated between membranes. We obtain ATP from the energy generated by the flywheel spinning. We refer to that as ATP synthesis. And that's basic mitochondria. However, I don't think that everyone on YouTube is aware that our energy is produced by this tiny spinning device that resembles a hydroelectric day. The rotating turbine. Among the things we've discovered about this ATP production is how quickly it spins. An incredible, nearly incomprehensible speed. And it travels through a space that is practically hard for a proton to pass through. According to research reports published in 2022, these protons don't simply pass through mechanically. They are able to teleport, quantum tunneling, and quantum teleportation. It is impossible to quantify the proton's level and degree of movement. They are actually employing quantum energy. And what that indicates is that energy stability depends on the health and vitality of our mitochondria. As we've shown, those mitochondria cannot accomplish this without this quantum energy and quantum tunneling, because the entire process would be too slow without it. We would become exhausted, since it would literally not produce enough ATP to sustain itself and leak energy. In the end, we would become ill and develop a malfunctioning metabolism. Is it something you recognize? What proportion of the population suffers from metabolic dysfunction? More than 93% have metabolic abnormalities to some extent. Our body's fundamental energy is being destroyed by us. Not only the capacity to digest protein, fat, and carbohydrates. Insulin resistance is not the only issue. It concerns this profoundly ingrained problem. Additionally, we must comprehend how we handle it. And since all of this preparation must be done first, we will revisit that when I reach step 4. I am aware that this is a lot. As part of this entire process, I promised you that I would explain how to convert fat cells into water. And this delves into some woo-woo things. Perhaps not woo-woo, but fringe physician Dr. Gerald Pollack has been under suspicion for a few things. However, there is no doubt that humans produce metabolic water. We produce water. Thus, as we burn and oxidize fat, the fat is converted into these triglycerides. After that, these triglycerides are divided into several aceto-coenzymes. These various substances go through a process known as the Krebs cycle. Following the Krebs cycle, they proceed through our mitochondria's electron transport chain, where oxygen is their ultimate destination. Thus, this oxygen serves as the last electron receptor before joining forces with protons to form hydrogen. What is produced by hydrogen and oxygen? Water. Water is thus a metabolic consequence of the oxidation and breakdown of fat. I'm not advocating against drinking water, but I am pointing out that certain activities, like as fasting, cutting back on carbohydrates, exercising, and oxidizing fat, actually produce water as a result. And why is this the case? Since the medium in which we store a charge is water. Thus, keep in mind the electrical aspects of the mitochondria that I mentioned. All right? Water is either within or outside of your mitochondria, which function as a battery. Dr. Gerald Pollack discusses how our bodies produce water and hydrate with it. But that water is pure metabolic water that takes on a structure that allows it to be negatively charged. You don't need to comprehend all of this. All you need to know is the fundamental. Thus, the water on one side is negatively charged, while the water on the other side is positive. This is the physical medium in which the charge. Therefore, sustaining the healthy metabolic water, which is similar to the battery cells, depends on fat oxidation. Have you been astounded? Do you understand how important it is to occasionally take a break from eating and let your body use its fat reserves? Do you realize the significance of occasionally maintaining slightly lower? Do you understand how crucial a calorie deficit is to achieving these fatty acid oxidations? Do you understand how crucial it is to teach your mitochondria to use fats and carbohydrates effectively in all domains? If we keep our mitochondria healthy and have a high level of fat oxidation, we will produce more of those through mitochondrial biogenesis. There are more batteries when there are more mitochondria. It goes beyond simply having additional locations to produce energy. Can't even begin to comprehend all that's happening, but it literally gives us quantum energy and additional locations to store and make energy. Another seemingly bizarre discovery that scientists are beginning to make, which Dr. Jerop thoroughly, is that light, including red and infrared light, affects our mitochondria. It affects it modifies the water. I don't want to go. Point is that I could provide you with about 300 studies that clearly demonstrate that our mitochondria do not react to light and that we are not photosynthetic organisms. In response to light, our mitochondria, that's where I'll rest. I won't go into it. I can direct you there if you'd like. The point is that light and water have an impact we truly accomplish when we put it right. In summary, we now know that the mitochondria are more. All right? We now know that the mitochondria do more than merely. They contain energy, draw energy, and, in a sense, produce practically limitless. We now know that this process is aided by the conversion of fat to. Thus, we now know that burning. What do we actually do now? First and foremost, we must optimize for nutrients. The days of only considering calories are long. I'm witnessing an increasing number of people change their minds and acknowledge that calories may be the second most essential factor. I am aware that they are crucial because they teach individuals the fundamentals of eating less and moving more. I understand. I'm not I say there's more to it, but I am in the passenger. Nutrient quality and healthy basically consume a lot of high quality meals, exercise frequently, and maintain your energy. Move more, don't consume more. If you'd like, eat additional high-quality fruit, chicken, or rice. Optimizing for fat. This implies that we must take breaks from eating. We should aim for a 12-hour gap between breakfast. We must perform metabolism, even if after breakfast. In fact, the research underlines makes it possible for mitochondria to facilitate improved total glucose. Your mitochondria are beneficial. You must let them learn how to use fuels more effectively, and you must occasionally oxidate in order to produce that metabolic water and stimulate the mitochondria to undergo more of them. Even if you occasionally go into low-carb and low-insulin states, you can choose not. Why? Because this initiates mitochondrial biogenesis by activating PGC1A once more. Low energy states are also possible. Work out while you're fasting or have little. Try to get your body to activate those low energy systems so that it systems and processes, since it recognizes that this person isn't now enabled by a lot of food. Let's try our best to produce energy without it. Therefore, the co-actors for this entire redux condition are beef liver, beef in general, high-quality meat, and B vitamins. B vitamins are therefore necessary for the mitochondria to control the amount of energy that is moving. Alright, so simply take a B vitamin pill or whatever, and choose foods high in B vitamins and high-quality B vitamins. High-quality saturated fats come in at number 4. Membrane. In order to have a strong proton gradient, you need becoming floppy and wonky. Alright? It will be a leaky process if that membrane is weak due to Alright? Alright. Does that imply that you consume a lot of saturated fat? No, it just implies working hard to obtain high-quality saturated fat.
Don't overdo it, and definitely don't mix. The main problem is not saturated fat. When paired with a high-calorie, high-sugar state, it becomes more problematic. Protein, protein, protein for structure is number 5. That framework is necessary. Proteins are folded and in the end, we are that muscle will be able to accommodate more muscle. To reach your protein objectives, eat as much protein as you can in the morning. Having protein later in the day doesn't really concern me. If you're fasting or whatever, try to take advantage of that. I want it earlier in the day or with your earlier meal. Take the membrane, all of this, and copper and magnesium are 2 of the most significant ones. Copper. Additionally, you could consume foods high in copper. Alright? Although these are necessary for the electrical system, an excess of copper, do not advise simply taking large. Consume foods high. Conduct a brief Google. Take a magnesium. I don't want to waste your time. 7th point is that non-caloric items do affect calories are.
You will most likely acquire weight and fat if you overeat. That's how it operates. Yes, but the calories aren't the only reason. The oversupply of energy and the inflammatory state are frequently the reasons why the mitochondria are having difficulty functioning. Take a multivitamin, though. Consider a multi-mineral. Consume your electrolytes. You may not simply need to eat if you are experiencing low energy. You may require some electrolytes. The 8th and most crucial factor is getting enough calories. Contrary to popular belief, it's the contrary. Consume a lot of high-quality food, because this is made possible by these electrons. This entire process does break down if all of the electrons from the food are not getting in. You will eventually have a breakdown if you don't eat. However, people become confused because they believe they must constantly cut calories. This should be viewed as an on-off switch. Periods of time on to supply the electron, and times off to strengthen your mitochondria. It doesn't finish in a few hours. You'll have lots of energy if you eat a lot on Monday and fast on Tuesday. These electrons will carry out their necessary functions, and our body has the capacity to store them in fat, glycogen, or perhaps even unidentified ways. You've learnt a lot from this video, but I also have some more films that explain the more complex aspects of fasting and how to use it correctly. One in particular discusses a fasting method that really lowers visceral fat, which may lower inflammation, a very intriguing concept. Check out this video. As usual,